Hello everyone, Douglas here and welcome to my Doctor Who review, and today I will be reviewing Midnight. And no, it's not the 8th Doctor audio story, The Chimes of Midnight. This story is the first one to be a bottle episode, and this is the first one to be a companion light story. If you remember the previous Doctor Light stories, the companion was always with the Doctor, but this time we get to see the Doctor by himself. And the reason why is because they had a skeleton crew, and they were filming David Tennant and Catherine Tate separately. But more later on Donna's story in the next review. This story was a replacement story. And the previous story was called Century House. And the plot of that story is that Donna is at home watching Most Haunted, and the Doctor joins the ghost hunting crew. And the reason why that story never got filmed is because Russell thought it was too comedic. Our cold opening scene begins, and we see the Lizard Palace. No, not the Lizard Hive. And I love the diamonds in the background, and you hear light-like elevator music in the background, making you sound more relaxed and at ease. We see Donna, played by Catherine Tate, and she gets a phone call from the 10th Doctor, played by David Tennant. We see the Doctor is going to a sapphire waterfall. We see Sky Silvestri, played by Leslie Sharp, and the hostess, played by Rika Alloy, and they are boarding the vehicle. We see the Doctor is trying to get Donna to come, but she wants to relax. I love the Doctor's line when he says, taking a big space truck with a bunch of strangers across a diamond planet called Midnight. What could possibly go wrong? Yeah, what could possibly go wrong? Our opening scene begins. We see the Doctor is on board, and we see Professor Hobbs, played by David Troughton, who is the son of the second Doctor, Patrick Troughton, and Dee Dee, played by Aisa Anointing. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing this. We see the hostess give the Doctor stuff for the trip, and it is a bit like boarding an airplane. We see the Doctor says Allons-y to the hostess. We also see Val, played by Lindsay Corson, and Biff, played by Daniel Ryan, and their gothic son, Jethro, played by Colin Morgan. And you might remember Colin Morgan from the Merlin TV series. We see the Doctor and Professor Hobbs meet. We see the hostess is welcoming everyone on board. And if you board an airplane, you know the hostess has to do the safety presentation. And there is also an entertainment system, and planes can be noisy when you are on board. We see the vehicle starts moving, and the entertainment system comes on. We see the Doctor deactivates the entertainment system. So, what do you do if you are stuck on board without entertainment? We see the Doctor insist that they have to talk to each other. We see the caption reads, 98 clicks later. We see the Doctor is talking to Biff and Val, and Biff is telling the story that you might have heard over and over again. We see Biff is telling the story that he was going swimming and he found out the pool was abstract. 150 clicks later, we see the Doctor is talking to Dee Dee, and we find out from Dee Dee that she is a second year student, and she wrote a paper on the lost moon of Poosh. We see the Doctor asked if she found the lost moon of Poosh, but the Doctor will find it. Spoilers right there. 209 clicks later, we see the Doctor is talking to Sky, and we find out Sky is single, and we find out she broke up with her partner. 251 clicks later, we see Professor Hobbs is giving a presentation on Midnight. We find out from Professor Hobbs the history is fascinating because there is no history. There is no life in the system that cannot survive. We see something goes wrong with the vehicle and we find out it stopped. Yeah, like I said, what could possibly go wrong? We find out from Professor Hobbs they never stop. We find out from the hostess that the driver needs to stabilize the engine feeds, and the doctor knows something is up. We see the doctor goes into the driver's cab and he meets Driver Joe, played by Tony Berto, and Mechanic Claude, played by Darren Henry. We find out from the doctor the engine feed is fine, and we find out from Driver Joe they just stopped and everything is working fine. We find out from Driver Joe they sent a distress signal, and the rescue truck will be here for an hour. We see the doctor wants to take a look outside, and we find out from Driver Joe it's 100% extonic. They will be vaporized. We find out from the doctor the windows are finito glass. They will have a couple of minutes. We see Driver Joe lifts the shield, and we see the planet's surface, and it looks beautiful. We find out from Claude the diamonds are poisoned by the sun. We see Claude notice something, and the doctor wonders what he saw. And we find out from Claude he saw some sort of shadow. We hear the alarm go off, and we find out the extonic is rising, and he is lowering the shield, and Claude sees the shadow again. We find out from Claude the shadow is running, and the shadow is running towards them. Oh no, that's not good. We see Sky is asking the doctor what they said to them, and we see the doctor tells her that they are destabilizing. We see Dee Dee ask the doctor, and she knows the engines are micro-petrol engines, and they don't need stabilizing. We see Professor Hobbs ask how much air they got, and this is where everyone starts to panic. We see the doctor yells quiet. We find out from Dee Dee that the air is on a circular filter, and they could be breathing for 10 years. We see the doctor tells everyone that everyone is going to be fine. Oh, really? Because we hear knocking outside. We see Professor Hobbs thinks it's the metal. They are cooling down. And Dee Dee thinks it could be rocks falling. We see Val thinks there is something out there. And Professor Hobbs thinks it's ridiculous. I love the doctor's line when he says, knock, knock. And Jeffrey replies saying, who's there? We see Sky thinks there is something out there. We find out from Professor Hobbs that the extonic sunlight would destroy any living thing in a split second. It is impossible for someone to be outside. Yeah, tell it to the creature outside. We see the creature is moving to the fire exit, and it is trying to get in. We see the creature is on the roof, and it is trying the entrance. And we see Val is asking, can it get in? And we find out from Dee Dee that the door is on 200 weight hydronics. We see Biff is looking at the door, and we find out from Biff that the door is cast iron. And we see Biff knocks 3 times, and the creature knocks 3 times back. We see the doctor is knocking 4 times, and the creature knocks back 4 times. We see Sky is having a panic attack. In one of the scenes, we see Sky distance herself from the group, and we see the creature is going after her. We see the creature made a dent in the hull, and the Vigo gets shaken up back and forth. We see everything stop, but the power is out. A great line from the doctor when he says, arms, legs, neck, head, nose, I'm fine. We see the doctor ask if everyone is okay. We see everyone is getting flashlights. And we see Jethro is shining her light at Sky. And she is shocked, crouched down, with her hands covering her face. We find out from the doctor that the wall is intact. We see the hostess is trying to get a hold of Joe and Claude, and they are not responding. And we find out the cabin is gone. We see the doctor is taking a look at the circuits, and we find out from the doctor any rupture would automatically seal itself. And we find out it has been sliced. We see the doctor is trying to talk to Sky. We find out from Jethro that the noise from outside stopped. A great line from Jethro when he says, but what if it's not outside anymore? What if it's inside? We see the doctor ask Sky to turn around, and we see her move, and we see a blank expression on her face. We see Sky is looking at everyone. We see her look at the doctor, and we see the doctor says, Sky, and Sky does the same thing, and she is repeating him, and the creature possessed Sky. We see Sky is repeating everyone. I love the doctor's line when he says the square root of pi is 1.724538509052980527817981747483341. Wow. We see Sky completes it without the doctor finishing it. We see everyone is panicking again and they tell Sky to stop. And we see the power is back on and everyone stops. We find out from the hostess it's the backup system. We see Val ask how long will the rescue take, and we find out from the hostess that it will take 60 minutes. We see Professor Hobbs suggests to everyone to calm down. We find out that Sky is now saying what people are going to say. We see the doctor suggest to everyone that they should be quiet. We see the doctor says more to Sky. Roast beef, bananas, the Medusa Cascade. Bang! Rose Tyler, Martha Jones, Donna Noble, Toddis. Sambo, Babo, Dibble Dobbo. Oh, doctor, you're so handsome. Yes, I am. Thank you. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O. We find out from the doctor that first she repeats, then she catches up. We find out from the doctor the more they talk, the more she learns. We see the doctor is moving everyone to the back, and a great shot when we focus on the doctor and Sky is blurred in the background, like there is something over him. We see Professor Hobbs is in denial of anyone living on midnight. We see the doctor tells Professor Hobbs that the universe has its own ideas. We see the doctor thinks that there might be some consciousness inside of Sky. We see the doctor thinks if she is copying them, the final stage is becoming them. We see the hostess wants to throw her out, and the doctor wants no one thrown out. We see everyone wants to throw her out. We find out from Dee Dee that there is an air pressure seal, like when you opened the cabin door, you weren't pulled out. You had a couple of seconds because it takes the pressure all about 6 seconds to collapse. That's enough time to throw someone out. We see the doctor says this line, now listen, all of you. For all we know, that's a brand new life form over there. And if it's come inside to discover us, then what's it found? This little bunch of humans. What do you amount to do? Murder? 'Cause this is where you decide. You decide who you are. Could you actually murder her? Any of you? Or are you better than that? We find out they would murder her and throw her out. We see everyone is turning on the doctor. And I think this is where you could see the doctor's weakness, that the humans he helped could turn on him, and even in a state of panic, they would murder Sky. We see the doctor stands his ground, that if they try and throw her out, they would have to go through him. We see the humans are acting stupid. We find out from Biff he would throw out the doctor. We see Professor Hobbs suggests that the doctor tells everyone his name, but he will say John Smith, and no one believes him. We see Defro noticed that Sky stopped, and Sky is only after the doctor. We see Val and Biff think the doctor and Sky are together. We see the doctor says this to Sky, Mrs. Silvestri, I'm trying to understand. You've captured my speech. What for? What do you need? You need my voice in particular. the cleverest voice in the room. Why? Because I'm the only one who can help. Oh, I'd love that to be true, but your eyes, they're saying something else. Listen to me. Whatever you want, if it's life, or form, or consciousness, or voice, you don't have to steal it. You can find it without hurting anyone, and I'll help you. That's a promise. So what do you think? We see Sky says, Do we have a deal? And this is where the roles swap. And we see the doctor is repeating Sky's words. We see everyone noticed it. We see Dee Dee and Jethro are doubting Sky. We see Professor Hobbs help Sky up. If you notice the lighting, you can see it shine down on Sky like an angel, but an evil angel in disguise. We see Sky is manipulating everyone, that Sky is on their side, and the creature is in the doctor. We see Dee Dee thinks Sky is stealing the doctor's voice, and it is draining him. We see the hostess is believing what Dee Dee is saying. We see Biff is going to throw out the doctor, and we see Sky tells them to throw him out, and we see Biff is doing it. I love Sky's line when she says, Cast him out, cast him out, into the sun, into the sun, and the night, and the night. Do it, do it, do it now, do it now. Faster, faster. That's the way, that's the way. You can do it, you can do it. Molto bene, molto bene. Allons-y, allons-y. We see the hostess remembers the doctor said that to her, and you realize that the creature didn't go into the doctor. It is still inside of Sky, and she is stealing his voice. The starlight waits. The starlight waits. The emptiness. The emptiness. The midnight sky. The midnight sky. We see Sky looks at the hostess and she realizes she's screwed up. We see the hostess grab Sky to the emergency exit, and both of them are sucked away. We see the doctor is back to normal and everyone is in shock what they went through. We see Val says this to the doctor. I know it was her. Yeah, right, you liar. 20 minutes later, the rescue truck arrives, and we see the doctor ask the name of the hostess, and no one knows what her name was. And we will never know. We see the doctor is back at the Leisure Palace, and the doctor is reunited with Donna. We see Donna ask what that creature was, and he doesn't know. We see the doctor says, Molto bene, and Donna repeats the line, and the doctor says, No, don't do that. Don't. And that is the end. I will say this, when I was a kid, I was never a fan of this story, and it was too scary. But, looking back on this, I am happy to say it is a classic. I will say it is one of the scariest stories out of Series 4, and I remember the part I was so scared of was Sky repeating everyone. I have to admit, both David Tennant and Leslie Sharp had to time this perfectly, and they nailed it. I will say, Maury Gold's music is at its best. The script by Russell is scary, and the direction by Alice Troughton is great, and I will give Midnight a 10 out of 10. So that is my review of Midnight. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel, and I will see you next time for my review of Turn Left.